Hi friends, I am finally getting to the video that I have been wanting to make for weeks, and hopefully you will find this useful. It's going to be a lot of information, but this is just really a general video on some things, and down the road I will probably do a video or two on more specific things. Today what I want to talk about is if you have any autoimmune disorder, and if you think or if you know that you have mast cell activation syndrome, or you know that you have some sort of mast cell disorder, this is going to be a video that you want to pay attention to. I'm going to try and get through this quickly without rushing through it. But first, I want to start with supplements that everybody should be taking regardless of what your health is. And this one here, the Pure Encapsulations 1 multivitamin. That is the multivitamin. You should take a multivitamin. It doesn't have to be this one, but it needs to be a good one. And this is just the one I'm taking right now. Another one that I've taken in the past was Life Force Multiple, I believe. It's okay too. Like 20 years ago, we took USANA vitamins, and that is when I really woke up to doing things differently, because I had really bad allergies. My son was he was 3, and he had developed really bad allergies and asthma symptoms. By the age of 3, he had already had pneumonia, and he repeatedly was getting croup. And then when he was 3 and he seemed to have some asthma with when he would run around and stuff, I was like, whoa, something's not right here. So anyway, we did start taking USANA and got really educated on why we need vitamins. Those are good too to take. They're just expensive. Well, 3 things. They're expensive. It's an MLM. But you can find them on Amazon and sometimes eBay. But also, most of those, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go any further than that. It is a good vitamin, but I would just prefer to take the Pure Encapsulations right now. The Pure Encapsulations company, one of the things that they are good about and known for is not having a lot of fillers in their supplements. So a lot of people who have mast cell activation syndrome, from this point forward, I'm going to call it Mcas for short, but a lot of people that have Mcas have to be really careful with fillers and everything that they take, because it could cause a reaction. So this is a good multivitamin. And then also, everybody on the planet should be taking magnesium. This is the form that we take. We order it online at the Reardon Clinic. But everybody wants to know this, so I'm just going to read from the back. It is magnesium malate, magnesium citrate, and magnesium glycinate. So it's like 3 different forms of magnesium, but it is an amazing form. I can go on and on about that, but every person on the planet needs magnesium. I cannot stress that enough. So take a good magnesium. If you don't want to take a pill, you can do Epsom salt foot soaks. That's a really good way to get magnesium too, and it's good for your feet. So if you like to pamper yourself and don't want to take a pill, then that's a good way to get magnesium in you. And then these are 2 different forms of vitamin D3 and K2 that we take. One is 5,000 international units, and the other is, and that's the Dr. Mercola. And then the other one is from the same place we get the magnesium, the Reardon Clinic, and it's a 10,000 international unit. So we have to take this year round, because for some reason even through sun exposure, we don't get enough vitamin D. I think we have really thin skin, and I think that's why. And I discovered that when my kids were younger, and they were having a lot of teeth problems. But we would stop taking it in the summer, and they would always, whenever they had their dentist appointment, like August, September, their vitamin D levels had been low all summer, and their teeth started, it happens that quickly too. It really does. Like every 6 months, it was like, why do we keep having bad dentist visits? But then when they got their vitamin D tested, I was like, what? And mine as well. I mean, I literally had tan skin. I had been in the sun so much, and my vitamin D level was low. So make sure you stay on top of that if you're not getting in the sun. Also, but you need to figure out how much you need to take. It's different for everybody. It depends on your body. It depends on how much you're in the sun. And, if you have an autoimmune disorder, it's especially important to take vitamin D. So, but figure that out and make sure you get your vitamin D level tested so you don't get toxic levels. And then here is fish oil. This is just a random one. I've been taking this one for a little while, and I've not been having any problems with it. So I think that it's a good one. I get it from Amazon, and lots of good reviews. So I'm going to stop right here. So all those are the things that everybody should be taking. And I'm going to stop right here and tell you about, I have a long line of supplements coming up. Y'all are going to you're not going to believe how many supplements I take. But the reason is I have had some health problems, but also I have had a lot of pain, a lot of joint pain and back pain, headaches, a lot of different issues. And I learned through my daughter being sick and the pain that I was having and all the research that I had done, I learned about something called TNF, which is tumor necrosis factor. It's a factor in autoimmune disorders, and it's also a factor in Mcas, but also a factor in Mcas is our mast cell stabilizers. I'm trying to not get too scientific, but there are mast cell stabilizers. There are drugs that are mast cell stabilizers, but there's also supplements that are mast cell stabilizers. So what happened with me is I was taking some supplements for one thing, and then later found out they're also good for this other thing. And I'm going to explain why that's important in a minute. So I'm going to come back to the D3. I'm just going to we'll just do this one. So this list in the background, I don't know if you can read it. I'm using it for notes. I will zoom in on the one of the websites that you have to go check out. But the notes back there, anything in bold is an anti-tumor necrosis factor. And then anything with a star next to it is a mast cell stabilizer. So D3 is an anti-TNF. I'm just going to call it that. It's a TNF inhibitor. Now TNF, I'm not going to go too much into it because the link I'm giving you is going to tell you everything you want to know about it. But generally, TNF, there's pros and cons to it. Some people have more than what a human should have, I guess. And the way I like to think of it is like a seesaw. And if you go too far either way, then your body's not going to like it because your body's always trying to have everything balanced. So that's the way I like to think of it. I think I have discovered accidentally that we genetically have too much. And there are lifestyle habits that can, cause it to go up or down, supplements that can cause it to go up or down. There are medications that you can take. So just by trial and error, I have figured out that taking some of the things that we take have helped with pain, helped with, just generally keeping me healthy without having to go on medications. I do not have a confirmed autoimmune disorder, but I was told by a physical therapist that I needed to go checked out because she said, with all these things that you're taking and they are helping you, you've got an autoimmune disorder. You need to go to the doctor. So just as an aside, I did go to the doctor, and this is one of the problems with healthcare. I went to the doctor. She ran, normal. I told her everything I was dealing with. She did blood work, and didn't even check my vitamin D level. I cannot even fathom why. I told her that I took vitamin D, and she should have said, okay, we need to check that because you can, get too much vitamin D. She didn't even check that, but it came back, everything was normal, and so I know something's wrong. And I just kind of dropped it because my mom had moved in, and she was, literally dying, and I was focusing on her. And so maybe a month or two later, I went to the eye doctor, and I told her, I said, my vision's just getting really bad. And I told her what I went through at the doctor. I said, I know something's going on, but this is what happened. And she told me, this is the eye doctor. She said, you need to go to a rheumatologist because the same exact thing happened to her boyfriend. A normal doctor isn't going to run all the tests that they need to run to find an autoimmune disorder. They're basically going to look at probably your C-reactive protein or a couple of other markers, and if those are not abnormal, then they're just going to tell you everything's fine. Well, they're not checking for everything. So I do know that I've got something going on, but the way I see it is if the supplements that I'm taking are helping me enough to be functional and at least feel healthy, then there's no point in going to see exactly what I have because they're just going to want to put me on a drug. So if you do have a confirmed autoimmune disorder, you might already be taking medication. I'm not going to tell you to not take your medication. And also, if you have Mcas and you're like, oh, I want to try some of these things and see what happens, you know that you have to be super careful. If I'm taking it, doesn't mean that you can take it. There might be side effects on some of these things, or there might be things that you react to that I don't. So just be super careful. Research everything before you take it. That's my disclaimer. So these are the things that work for me. So, okay, the next thing, now I'm going to go down the list of things that I take for certain reasons. This one's still in the box. I order these ahead of time to make sure I have enough supply. I haven't opened this box yet, but I started taking beetroot about 15 years ago. I saved my gallbladder from having to be removed. I was having gallbladder attacks. It was so bad. They were like, yeah, you need to get it taken out. So I did a gallbladder protocol that is, basically detoxing and kind of nursing it back to health. And beets were one of the things that I used to help my gallbladder heal. And so, that was like 15 years ago. Not too long ago, maybe a year ago, I started having problems again. And I was like, oh no, it was like during Christmas and I worked in retail and I didn't have time for that. I didn't have time for surgery and I still wanted to keep my gallbladder. So I started taking beetroot again and it helped like overnight. And I'm still taking it. I figured, why stop taking it? It's not expensive. There's not really any drawbacks to it, and it'll keep my gallbladder healthy. Well, excuse me. Beetroot thins the bile, so it keeps your gallbladder from being sluggish. But also, a positive side effect of beetroot is that it lowers your blood pressure. Now, growing up, I always had low blood pressure. I was healthy. I was an athlete, and it was not a concern. But it has become a concern as I've gotten older. And I also figured out that taking natural desiccated thyroid and getting those levels to normal helped my blood pressure go back to normal as well. So I don't really need the beetroot for the blood pressure, but if you need something for your blood pressure, then that is a good side effect. But also, beetroot, I later discovered, is an anti-tumor necrosis factor supplement, or food. It's food supplement, whatever. But it is on the list, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So I really do want to keep taking it because I seem to have a need for lowering my TNF. So there's beetroot, and that's what you take that for. And then also because of my liver, I drink a lot of detox tea, but also I take this supplement by Thorne. It's called Liver Cleanse. And the ingredients in it, the two that are the most important to what I'm talking about now, there's berberine and then milk thistle. And milk thistle is a mast cell stabilizer, and it also lowers TNF, and berberine also lowers TNF. The other ingredients are burdock root and chicory root. So these help keep your liver healthy. A lot of people have fatty liver or I guess I call it like sluggish liver, or no, that's the gallbladder, like toxic liver. There are symptoms that you can get sometimes where your liver's just not working too great. And really everybody should do some sort of liver cleanse or detox or something at least once or twice a year, probably more frequently knowing the way most people eat. But this is to just help to keep my liver and gallbladder healthy. But here again, I have those positive side effects of the lowering the TNF. So, okay, so there's that. And then the next thing is cinnamon. And to be honest with you, I can't remember why I originally started taking cinnamon. As you can see on that bottle, it says lowers blood sugar. And I don't think that's why I was taking it. It might have been because we were suspicious that we were dealing with Bartonella. And cinnamon is one of those things that helps with Bartonella. Some of the things that I take, I actually got it originally to potentially give it to my daughter to take for some issues that she was having. I think that might have been why I got the cinnamon. I'm pretty sure that is why. But I also learned down the road that it is a blood thinner on top of helping to lower your blood sugar, but it also lowers TNF. So the reason I kept taking it was because of the blood sugar, because I eat too much sugar, I know that, but just to try to keep it lower. But I have continued to take it for the other reasons as well, that it lowering the TNF, and I don't know, I just feel good on it. And it says on this bottle, it helps with weight, probably because of the blood sugar, also circulation, that's because it's a blood thinner, and then heart because of the blood thinner. So as I'm talking about blood thinners, there's another reason that I have focused on that, and I didn't take these on purpose, but a lot of these things, again, it was a side effect of what we were already taking. But my daughter, one of her issues was blood circulation. I'm going to talk about her one day and all those issues, but I want to mention it to you because if you have had the COVID vaccine, you probably want to focus on your blood, making sure it doesn't get thick or clotty or to the point where you're having strokes or heart attacks or whatever else has been happening following that. So, and also if you had COVID, you have a risk of those things as well. I don't know which is higher. I think it's the shot, but I'm trying not to pay too much attention to all that because it just makes me angry. So, but cinnamon does help with your blood in that regards. Okay, so another one of my favorite supplements, and this really should be on the list of things you should take every day. Many years ago, I heard a guy on a radio talk show talking about oil of oregano, and I did start taking it then, but I filed it away in my brain. And I just remember him talking about how so many people were doing well on it. And he talked a lot about fatigue. And I started taking it, it's been years. It's been 3, 4, maybe 5 years. Because I know I worked in retail for 5 years and I hardly ever got sick, and I always said it's because of the oil of oregano. And I mean, people around me, we would always everybody would get sick and, you know, have a horrible cough and all that. And this was before COVID. And I used to get sick like that all the time when I was younger growing up, and I just wasn't catching the things that they were all sharing with each other. But oil of oregano is antibacterial, it's an antioxidant, it reduces inflammation, and it also helps fight viral infections. Now, what the guy on the radio was talking about was, in regards to the fatigue, this is my theory. I think that a lot of us have either viruses or bacteria, infections, like latent infections in our body that we don't know is there. And I know that, like the medical medium, he talks about Epstein-Barr virus all the time and blames everything under the sun on it. He could be right, I don't know. But I do know that since I have been taking it, I have not had problems with fatigue like I did growing up. I remember when I was in college and I was in the library, in the library, and I was just walking by books, and I saw a book. It was a dissertation that somebody had written on chronic fatigue syndrome. It's the first time I had ever heard of it. And I read that and I said, wait a minute, what? And I opened it up, and that was the very first time I was like, I don't think I'm normal. I don't think most people deal with the fatigue that I deal with. And I was an athlete and really struggled with it and just thought I was wearing myself out, doing my sport. And so I don't think that was it. And I will tell you this, when I was in college, I did get scratched by our cat, and my parents eventually, it got infected really bad, and my parents took me to the ER because at the same time I had bronchitis, and I had had a cough for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I had a fever, and I was just not doing well. They thought I had cat scratch fever, which is Bartonella. And later on, my kids had a lot of similar symptoms, and I was like, what? And we've always had cats. A lot of people will say, if you have cats, you have Bartonella. And I don't know how true that is, but a lot of vets do. Vets know more about Bartonella than your doctor will. So if you're suspicious that you might have Bartonella, talk to your vet. But, any infections from, wherever, if you've got something that is in your system, oil of oregano is going to take care of it. It might not get rid of it, but I think it knocks it down enough to where your body just kind of sighs and says, okay, now we can function normally and, not as fatigued as you were before. But the one thing you have to watch about with oil of oregano, I used to take it twice a day, and then I noticed I was getting heartburn. And what it can do is it can knock down your microbiome to the point where you're not digesting well anymore. So what I have figured out is I will take the oil of oregano at night, and I eat yogurt in the morning. And so I just take it once a day. I was taking it twice a day. I knocked it down to once a day, and then I don't eat it at the same time, or I don't take it at the same time as I eat my yogurt, so that I'm kind of like building it up and then, knocking it down a little bit. You can also, this is not the essential oil, but you could use the essential oil. I don't know if it would be as effective. I'm not an essential oil guru. I know people that will like put it in their belly button or whatever. But this is in a capsule that you can take, and that's why you have to be careful with your gut. A lot of people will say, oh, you can only take it for 2 weeks and you have to stop and take a break. I've not taken a break in probably a couple of years, and I did go down to the 1 capsule, and I seem to be doing really well doing it that way. But your gut may be different. Everybody has a different microbiome, and you know, you might have issues with it. But if it's too strong for you too, if there's an oil of oregano, and then there are oregano where it's basically the dried herb, and that's not as strong as this is. I don't know how much weaker it is, but I would try the oil of oregano before you did anything, because I think you should be able to tolerate it no matter what your gut is like, and you should have some positive results. I want to tell you this too. I had a plantar's wart on my toe. I had it back in my 20s, and I thought I knocked it out back then. Well, then it came back in the same spot, probably, I don't know, 5 years ago. Since I started taking the oil of oregano, I've not had problems with that wart. And that's, I guess, a fungus is a wart. I don't know if all warts are funguses, or fungi. But there's other things that got better too. I can't even remember, but that's the main one that I was like, oh my gosh, that wart went away finally after how many years. So yeah, so that's oil of oregano. Try that if you are dealing with fatigue, or you know you have some infections that are going on. Okay, so this is a combination of turmeric and I don't know how you say that, bioperine, I think that's black pepper, garlic and ginger. So this I specifically took for inflammation. And so on my list, I've got turmeric, which is anti-inflammatory. It's also a blood thinner. Garlic it lowers TNF, and it's also a blood thinner and anti-inflammatory. Ginger is a blood thinner. It's good for digestion. And it is also a natural prokinetic. And that means if you have slow motility, it helps with motility. And basically that is, if you've heard of gastroparesis, or, things just don't move through your system fast enough. A lot of people will take, oh my gosh, I can't think of what it's called now, but you know, if they get constipated, they start taking all this stuff. Well, ginger should help with that, and it has so many different digestive benefits. Like, the list is so long, it's crazy. So if you're having some digestive issues, maybe look up garlic and see if that is something that can help. So okay, so there's that. I think I started taking that for inflammation, for joint and pain, and then I realized it has all these other benefits. This would be a good one to take if you have issues with stroke or blood thickening, or personally, I don't even want to say this, I'm scared to say it, but they had my mom on a couple of blood thinners. One was Eliquis, which is super expensive, and then the other, I don't remember, but I'm hoping that if I take this now, that I won't ever have to go on one of those drugs. And I wanted to, if she could have taken a pill, she had to have everything crushed up, and this would not be one that would taste good. So she would have been like, what are you trying to give me? But I would almost take this instead of taking one of those medications. I would. I'm not telling you to, but every medication has a side effect. If your doctor, the reason why my mom was taking it is because she had AFib, and which actually, more than likely what was going on, she had Lewy body dementia, and I'm pretty sure that she had Parkinson's, and they just missed, because she didn't have tremors. She had tremors once in a blue moon, and because she didn't have that obvious sign, they missed it. And I just totally lost my train of thought. AFib is a precursor to, it's either Parkinson's or Lewy body. I can't remember which. When I was doing research, I was like, what, are you kidding me? But yeah, it can be related. So I think in her case, she probably could have taken this supplement. And, you know, if they would study supplements enough, we might learn that everybody could, but they would rather have you on that expensive medication than a cheap supplement. So I personally would take this and trust it. Other people, they would think I'm crazy. So there's that. So the next one is skull cap. And the reason that I am taking skull cap is because, well, this is one that I actually looked up, mast cell stabilizers, and this was one that was on the list. And I got it for my daughter to try, and I wanted to try it first. And it helped. It just generally made me feel better. So this is a mast cell stabilizer and lowers TNF, and it is helpful in lowering neurological inflammation, and it can also help with insomnia, anxiety, and depression. The main reason, I think my daughter is taking this now that I'm thinking about it, the neurological inflammation, that's one of the problems that she was having. And she takes something called Neuroprotect as well. It's a supplement for Mcas, but this is another one of those. I took it for, it was a mast cell stabilizer, and it also turns out to lower TNF. So has lots of benefits. The next one is, and I'm almost done, ashwagandha. To be honest with you, I cannot remember why I started taking this. It says healthy stress response on it, so more than likely it was because work was stressing me out. I'm the kind of person, like I've never been able to handle stress even when I was a kid. And so that's probably why. I didn't even I forgot to write down the benefits of ashwagandha. I don't know what they are other than stress. It does lower TNF. And I learned I got a bottle and I took it, and when I ran out, I said, I could probably go without that. I'm not too stressed out, whatever. When I stopped taking it, I started having joint pain. So I realized that it was helping joint pain for me. So I picked it back up and started taking it again. So, and I do believe that is one of the things that they list as one of the benefits of ashwagandha is joint pain. I can't remember, but it definitely has helped me with mine. So, okay, last but not least, this is another one that I looked up and started taking. It was a mast cell stabilizer. It's Butterbur. And this one is a combination of butter. You can't really see it down here. It says with feverfew. And both of those are mast cell stabilizers. And they are supposed to be good with brain fog, anxiety, and migraines. That is Butterbur. And then feverfew, it says can improve cranial blood vessel integrity. So this is one that I actually was like, I'm going to try it and see if, for my daughter, because she got a lot of headaches. And then I realized, so do I. It seems like we were getting headaches at the same time. I think a lot of times they are weather related. But also, ironically, I have been in menopause for probably 5 years. And whenever she would have her period, I would get what was like used to be my period headache, kind of like the migraine. And it was the craziest thing. I was in menopause, but I was it seemed like still being affected by her hormones. And that was not fun. But I did also get headaches at work from just stressful times, especially like the busy days. We had some days that were especially busy. But it seems to have helped somewhat with headaches. It's not expensive, so I just keep taking it. If it can, keep my head from hurting too bad on a regular basis, then why not? Now that I'm at the end of the supplements, I wanted to mention this as well. When I'm talking about mast cell stabilizers, one of the things that aggravates mast cells is EMFs. And I'm going to do a separate video on that. But we're talking cell phones, Wi-Fi, cell towers, Bluetooth, if you're using Bluetooth earbuds, if you have a smart meter on your house. All of these things can affect your mast cells. So even if you are like, I have never heard of Mcas before, I don't know what she's talking about, maybe you have autoimmune, they are related. You can have mast cell activation syndrome, not even realize it, because it has symptoms that, like a lot of people think that you have to have anaphylaxis in order to have mast cell activation syndrome. And that is not true. Some people do, but some people have completely different symptoms, and they miss them because they're like, well, I'm not having these horrible reactions, so they just write it off and dismiss it. But those people can let it go on so long that it almost causes an autoimmune disorder. So I don't know if they're related 100% of the time or just sometimes. Mcas is also related to increased likelihood of cancer. So and also EMFs can lead to cancer. So in general, like, just do things that are healthy, but if you don't have Mcas and you're like, that's never been on my radar, not something I am worried about, you need to be cognizant of the fact that it can be an issue down the road if you aren't careful with all of the EMFs and the electronic devices and everything that you are exposing yourself to. And especially children are growing up with phones in front of them. You see them at the store, they're on a phone or an iPad, and they're so, I need to do a video on this soon because I do have an EMF meter where I can show you some things that I've done and what different things measure. But the most important thing you can do when you go to bed at night is have everything off in your room. Don't sleep near outlets or extension cords. Don't run an extension cord under your bed. But also put your phone on airplane mode, but also turn off Bluetooth on it. You have to do both, and also turn off your Wi-Fi at night. If you do just those things while you're sleeping at night, you're ahead of most people out there. But also, like, don't have your Wi-Fi on if you're not using it. You know, a lot of people think it's cool to have a smartphone or smart home and all these smart appliances and everything's on Wi-Fi and you don't have to worry about wires and all that stuff. And it's literally killing us. But the thing about EMFs is they are cumulative. So it builds up and it just gets worse and worse. And basically, it definitely affects your mast cells. And one of the reasons I take a lot of these things is because I have been, I think the easy way to say it is I have been poisoned by EMFs. And that's a story for another day that I can go into more detail. But that is why I need a lot of these things, is because of the EMFs. But there's also different things that can affect your mast cells. For most people, it's going to be the EMFs, but for people that have like genetic problems that cause problems with mast cells, there's other things that set off mast cells as well. And it could be infections. That's another big thing that affects mast cells. So real quick, I also want to add, at night, it's down here at the bottom. I don't have those bottles because I didn't want to go upstairs, all the way upstairs to get my bottles. But at night, I take melatonin, and that's important if you have been affected by EMFs. But also DHEA, both of those lower TNF. I also take holy basil and natural desiccated thyroid, and I recently started taking progesterone and estrogen because I've realized that some of my pain is related to being in menopause and not having those hormones. So here's why I'm going to now focus in on the website where you can learn more about the TNF. Now, all you have to do is Google selfhack.com and TNF or any of these terms. You don't have to put that website in, but if you Google some of that, it'll come up. It should come up pretty quick. So the reason I wanted to share this with you is because these supplements, one supplement can have numerous benefits versus a drug that you take for reason A that has 52 side effects. So if you're going, I can't believe she takes that many supplements. I take these supplements because they make me feel better. I could be on 15 different drugs that maybe do the same thing, but also cause a bazillion different side effects. And if you have paid attention, you know a lot of the side effects can be deadly. There's risk factors in medications. It's not just, it might give you diarrhea. Sometimes it's, your chance of cancer is going to go up 59% or something. So see what you can take care of with supplements that have additional benefits. As I said in the beginning, if you have an autoimmune disorder, the lowering the TNF is important for autoimmune disorders, but also the mast cell stabilizers might help you as well. And one of the things that I was suspicious I might have for a little bit was ankylosing spondylitis, because of the certain areas of pain, because of my history of lower back pain. I've had back pain since I was 11. And I was in a group for it for a little while, and they all are on medications that are just like crazy, scary, but they feel like they're dying without the medications. You're in so much pain, you can't function, you can't think, you can't get anything done. They're disabled. You become disfigured when it gets to a certain point. And I also, because of my mom's health, I kind of put together between her health and my kids' health, there's something going on, and I'm trying to put together a picture. And she had a lot of the ankylosing spondylitis, and so that's why I started even thinking about it at all. And I wonder, people that are on medications already and in so much pain, they do not want to hear, hey, maybe you can try these supplements, because if a supplement would work, why would they be spending all this money? Well, they don't really. Their insurance company spends all this money on drugs, but why wouldn't their doctor tell them about it if it worked? And here's the reality. This is how I know that this stuff is helping me. When I hurt my back, I don't know, about a year ago at work, and I had to go to physical therapy. This is the physical therapist that told me that, you have something autoimmune going on. She told me that I needed to go on a protocol for with ibuprofen, and if I took the protocol, I would have to not take all of my supplements because they were blood thinners, and ibuprofen is a blood thinner as well, so it was just dangerous to take all of them at the same time. So I went, and the ibuprofen, it was, I don't remember how much I was taking. I think it may have been like just 600 milligrams the whole day. So 200, 200, 200, I split out throughout the day. Well, it helped my back. My back felt pretty good. But in less than 8 hours, I would say, my knees started hurting so bad I could barely walk. My hands, or my wrists, I guess, were just felt like they were on fire. I just kept feeling like I had to shake them because they were just hurting. And just gradually all this pain started coming back, and I was like, well, now I know that all these supplements that I've been taking are helping me. And because when you've been in pain and you are not in pain anymore, you forget the pain that you were in. So and there's been times where I've thought, well, I don't know if this thing is working, maybe I don't take it, like I was telling you with the ashwagandha, and then you realize, oh, well, it was helping because your pain comes back. When that pain comes back, you're like, oh my gosh, how do people live this way? It's not even just, it's like fire pain. It's aggravating, and like you can't think, it hurts when you move. And people with serious diseases like autoimmune disorders, especially ankylosing spondylitis, I don't know which one's worse. I don't have them all, so I can't compare. But they were in a lot of pain, and I think because I have the background in knowing how much supplements can do, and just learning 20 years ago what vitamins will do, I watched my little boy not have, the red circles under his eyes went away, and he wasn't breathing funny when he would run around, and he became healthy. He even started eating healthier. As a matter of fact, I started craving healthier foods when I was on a good vitamin supplement. So, but people that don't have that background and all they know is to go to their doctor for the help that they need, they're not going to believe that something over the counter would work. And I think that it will. I think that even if you're in a lot of pain, it's not like you're so far gone you can't take something over the counter. It's just finding what will work, and just trying stuff. And unfortunately, probably the biggest problem is that people will get their insurance to cover sometimes. Most of the time they will get their insurance to cover these medications, but they also have to fight it sometimes because they're very expensive drugs and the insurance companies don't want to pay it. So, but if they get that covered and let's say they have a $25 copay versus all of these supplements, I haven't added up how much I spend on supplements. It's definitely more than $25 a month, I know that, but they justify it by saying, well, I can't afford all that, and they'd much rather pay $25. But when you look at the positive side effects of the supplements versus the negative side effects of the medications, and really the medications don't always work, and they don't always work long term, in the long run, you're going to be better off if you try supplements. So, even my own mom, I've told her stuff the last 20 years. I've told her, oh, you should take this for that, or sometimes she would listen, but she fell into that as well, where well, it's a lot easier if the doctor tells you do this, then and it's covered by insurance, then that's fine, that's what I need to do. And it's just the easy way out, and it's not the best way out. Because I've done so much research with my daughter being sick, I've just learned so much stuff, and I've also learned how bad the healthcare system has gotten, and how there are some doctors that know about supplements and vitamins and vitamin D and things like that, but for the most part they're still largely ignorant, and that's why we have to advocate for ourselves and research everything, and don't just trust the doctor, and they don't know everything. If you have a disease or a disorder, you should know more about that than your doctor does. And if you're using the internet like you should, you do know more than your doctor does, because they have to know about all diseases, and you're learning about your disease. Some of my negative doctor stories come down to me going into the doctor's office and saying, you know, hey, can we try this? And they don't want to for whatever reason, and it's just so frustrating because you're literally looking at a study that was done that says this should work for this situation, and they would rather do another medication that is way more harmful. And that's a story for another day that I'm going to tell y'all. But this has gotten really long, so I'm going to end this here. I think I'm going to learn how to edit video on this one so I can break it up into smaller pieces for you. But anyway, hopefully this is useful. And if this doesn't affect you, if you have a loved one who is struggling with some issues, pain issues, inflammation, anything that I've discussed, mostly pain, I would say that's what I've used a lot of this for, or blood thinner. You know, talk to them and try to get through to them, especially if it's your kid or a parent, because, you know, the reality is my mom ended up in my care, and I knew if she had listened to me much earlier, things would have ended differently. And it's frustrating to me that I wasn't there to, you know, we lived, 1,800 miles apart. But I wasn't there to stay on top of it and be like, no, you need to do this, you need to do that. And she did have some good doctors, but for the most part, it was just not good enough. So, but just try and take care of your loved ones. And, you know, if they don't listen, they don't listen. But hopefully this is helpful. And I will talk to you guys soon. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I'll try to get back to you sooner than I have been. Y'all have a blessed day, and we'll see you later.